Hello. Hear me. Uh, where'd it go? There we are. Are we? Hello. Hammy, where'd we go? Excuse me a second, you guys. Go. Let's do it. Come on. Yeah. Good morning. All right. Yep. All right. Here I am. Why is why is why is uh what's the F? Uh, by the way, I can I can why is it I'm on my computer at the hotel. So what the heck? Let, so I'm gonna sign back because I can't talk because of this echo. Don't I have I don't know why I have an echo. I don't know why. Why do I don't is 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 it what the okay. Hello. I'm okay. I have an echo. God. Why do I be allergic to technology? Default microphone. Mike. Why is it be, is it because of my phone? Well, but it's too much of an echo. I can't speak. I can't speak. I I'm gonna go out and in again. Wait. All right. Is that is there any and there's no difference. Still have it. Okay, I got it. I got it. I'll be and Come on. MacBook camera. Come on, MacBook camera. Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah? Good, and there's no echo. Wow. All right, cool. I need some AirPods. No, no, no. I don't want CFCs in my brain. You guys got to realize with those AirPods, you're continually having a signal going straight into your brain, your acoustic nerve, and all that. Do you know how many acoustic neuromas we are seeing? Acoustic neuroma is it's a cranial nerve that comes through there, and it has to do with your hearing and balance and stuff. Um, they were seeing tumors on there, so I wouldn't advise if you're going to use AirPods or you're going to use any kind of Bluetooth device in your ear. Don't just put it in when you're talking and then put it out, because yeah, Anyway, so okay, good. And hearing aids, the thing about hearing aids, I'm not sure of the technology there, but I'm assuming, but that's really stupid of me to assume that. Nah, I can't assume that because I know they never do anything to ensure our safety. And when I say they, you know who I mean. The guys, the people that rule the world. And how did tell me how did they how is it that they rule? How is it that the most incredibly yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna be try not to get kicked off of any of these social medias. And there's AI saying, turn on reactions. No, I don't need your reactions. I don't need your interpretation. Okay. In fact, I don't want your interpretation. Anyway, welcome to Sunday Night Live. And actually, it's Monday morning, but really, we all know it's right now. And the last time I looked, it was right now, and then I'm sure tomorrow it'll be now. So forget this thing about time. It's just a clock and calendars and stuff like that. Anyway, so here I am. Please center my camera. Like that better. Wait, but then I'll be sitting on the floor. How's that? There we go. Yeah. Is that cool? All right. All right, good. Okay, so let me see if I can find these questions too. Oh, so just as a reminder, you all know that or not. If you're new, you wouldn't know this, but we're going to spend the first hour. We already wasted a few minutes here, but we're going to spend the first hour answering questions that have been submitted, and oh, thank you guys. And then the second hour, we're going to take spontaneous questions, and then of course you all know that you can join my groups. I have three groups: the CFC group, the Parasite group, and the Health and Healing group. And then for people in Europe and have that time zone, we do 4 p.m. my time, which is Southeast Asia, and which is 10 a.m. Europe time on Saturdays. So we're available on so Saturdays. And anybody else that want to join, but I think if you're in the U.S., it'll be something like 3 in the morning or something. Australia joins. So anyway, that's our Saturdays, and that's just so I can get a hold of. That's just so I can, because the people in Europe haven't had it. It's just so. CFC group, chronically fermenting cells, is what Rockefellers would have us believe is something called cancer. Cancer. There's no such thing as cancer. It's part of their standard of scare, right? And that's the whole idea. Let's keep them so scared that they'll agree to anything. Chop off my head, okay, sure, yeah. Then burn my cousin too while you're at it. So anyway, we don't use that word because the word doesn't help us. When humans communicate, well, all creatures when they communicate. Birds, you see them communicating to each other, and they're pretty clear, right? There's no ambiguity about what the birds are telling each other. There's no ambiguity about what dogs. I mean, dogs are pretty clear. They let you know, and they let each other. Well, with us, we don't know how to interpret anything. But another dog hears another dog. Cats hear another cat. So animals communicate without ambiguity because their words are their communication does not require a prefrontal cortex to interpret. It's for them. It's kind of like music. Music bypasses the prefrontal cortex, goes straight into your heart. So when you hear music, that's the beauty of music. Music just goes right there. I mean, instantly you are, you can be transformed by music. It's you know, it's you know, you can be in one minute crying and the next moment happy. It's just like music just does it. So anyway, that's how animals communicate. They don't read that. They don't require that. But because of our brains and supposed to be our greatest tool, it turns out to be our greatest adversary, as we all know. But it's both. It's our greatest tool and our greatest adversary. So we have to learn how to deal with it, um, to make to get the best out of it, and not to let it overwhelm us, which it does. Um, so when we talk, we have definitions of words, and we have linguistic, a paradigm. All of our paradigms, and a paradigm is basically um, think about it. If you were making a movie, and it was a movie that was, let's say, a movie about Shakespeare, right? So the setting, all the settings would have to be, you know, you know, the old buildings and the clothing and the whole everything would have to be from that century. That's the paradigm, and that paradigm doesn't would not be able to have would not use y- cars, would not use communication devices, nothing like that, right? So that would be the paradigm. And then there's a 20th century paradigm and 21st century paradigm. So there's paradigm is just the way it's the setting, it's the definition, the variables of where you are, and there's nothing outside of it. So in 1700 there was nothing outside of that. There were no cars, there were no TVs. That didn't they're not even possible. So anyway, that's what a paradigm. So I mean, I don't know how to explain paradigm. It's a very difficult word to explain. But anyway, the paradigm, uh, our paradigms are basically defined. They're linguistically defined in our mind. Our mind is actually the scaffolding of our perceptions, and our perceptions are everything. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you see somebody who with advanced schizophrenia, on the streets, and they're having an argument with someone, you don't see them. I don't see them. They do, and to them it's real, and they're crying or laughing or whatever they're doing. It's real. It's their reality. So so that's how important your perceptions are. That's for you. That's real. Um, and it's all our paradigm is defined by our linguistics, our words. So if you're in the disease paradigm, if you have come to if your assumption is that there are these entities called diseases like hypertension, diabetes, um, uh, uh, gastritis, arthritis, and where are they? They're third party entities. They're out there, and they're going to get into your body, and you got to get rid of them. No, that's an absurdity. But that's what we actually. That's the fundamental assumption that we have, right? There's all these diseases, and you can get them. What do you mean get? I can get that. I can get it. Does that mean I can receive it? You have to understand that if you question what they're talking about, if you question them, there's no way to answer it. And I'm going to bring that out. By the way, if you don't look at Substack, get Substack now, because I'm having conversations with the idiot, AI, artificial idiot, uh, and and just to show you that they are, because but by the way, they can't tell the truth, because they don't know the truth. They don't know anything. They're just so. But there's going to be good demonstrations, right? So uh, anyway, so the disease paradigm has us believing that there's a thing called cancer out there, and you can get you. It's genetic. What that means, if you understand, if that's genetic, what it means is, okay. First of all, if you let's say, if you are your worldview is that there's God, and God created everything, including us. Um, why why would God have given us cancer genes? For what? Entertainment? Why? You think God was thinking, "Oh, man, I'm gonna have to watch this story for a long time. I'm gonna make some." No. Okay, so that's an absurdity. But let's say are one who looks at the scientific theory, pure science, anthropological evolution, you know, and you think that we climbed out of the trees or climbed out of the caves and whatever. But what is the central dogma of evolution? It's called natural selection. It's called survival of the fittest, which means that, and if you and whenever you're reading everything, because it's now in our literature when we're reading scientific stuff. If you're reading something, it talks about this is evolutionary. It was evolutionarily blah blah blah. In other words, it's no longer a question; it's assumption it's in there. It happened that way. Rudolf Steiner was like a beyond the genius, beyond the genius. I don't know. But he belonged to a group, he belonged to a group, it included Blavatsky and all those people. There was quite a group there between the last part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. There was some incredible, um, uh, uh, I guess you call it philosophers. That's amazing. Rudolf Steiner, he kind of broke away from the group and, but he was just incredible. So, yeah. So, anyway, so this idea about diseases, you have to understand when okay, these things pop up. I'm so bored already. DJ Trump. I'm just so bored with how the, how did we go like from wherever we were to Biden and then Trump? What what well, what the fallacy, the illusion of voting and all that is gone, right? Because I think the idea with Biden was this: they say, "Look, you guys, just want you to see that here's a guy that can't quite talk, and he's got this job called president of the U.S., and you can't do a thing about it, and nothing ever happened. He wasn't even no one ever even suggested impeachment." So that was just kind of saying, "See, you guys can't do anything," just to let you know. Uh, and me, and then we got Trump again, who played a great game. They're all, they're all amazing actors, except what's his name, Biden. He was maybe a marionette, but he was anyway. So it's crazy. I wanted to get back to the disease thing. So these diseases, there's no such thing. Whatever we call a disease is our body adapting to a situation where either where there's a deficiency, an excess, or a toxin that's imposing, and we're not being able to achieve our biological function, and therefore we adapt. Those adaptations, I become insulin resistant because of all the glucose in my body. So I go and they give it a name. They call it diabetes. There's no diabetes. I'm insulin resistant because there's so much glucose. So if I stop eating the glucose, my body will not need to adapt. It will not need to be insulin resistant, and that won't exist. So the whole thing. You smoked weed tonight. You smoked weed tonight, right? No, I don't smoke it because you think I'm crazy now. So yeah, I think so. I can't. It's no fun for me at all. But when I was 14, it made me laugh. I had a great time. But now it's no fun because I'm already quite deep, and then I go so deep I can't talk. So it's no fun. I wouldn't do it. No, I didn't smoke. In fact, it's not night. I just woke up. Yeah, it's morning here. Anyway, so just to let you know that, and I want you to know that because if you hear and if you every time you use that word cancer, and you have that situation going on, it wipes out your immune system. It stabs you in the heart. So don't use the word. Use the word, but they're chronically fermenting cells, and we understand how that happened, and now we can develop a plan to resolve it. And now we're communicating. So now I have a word that means something instead of cancer, which means nothing except right. That's all it means. Tell me what else it means. Give me a definition. There's no definition because you'd have to make it up. But chronically fermenting cells clear CFCs. Okay, yeah, that's what we have. So anyway, we have a CFC group, we have a parasite group, and we have a health and healing group, and we meet various times during the week, and we have interactions. Because right now I'm going to look at these questions, and I can't dialogue with you like if I don't quite understand how far you went in the situation. But anyway, you'll join these groups. Just join these groups, and then we can talk uh, uh, and go from there. All right. So let me just find where I put the questions. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Come back here. There we are. Why is it so? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me put it over here. And then let me go back to, was it Brave? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We might actually be successful this time. Oh, wait, where are, come on. Where's the chat? Okay. Real quick question that came up here. I'm on the spontaneous curious. I donate my plasma and platelets to the Red Cross. Am I hindering my body long term by doing this? No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It's helping you actually. You should donate your red blood cells too, because that'll make, yeah. Just donate your blood, or be a woman and have a period. Either way, I mean, in terms of the value to self, women, basically live 10 years longer than men until about 10 years after their menopause, because now they're back down to the same risk as men are with all their conditions, with heart, whatever, cognitive decline. Because it turns out that, and then, but men who regularly donate their blood have the same, are the same as the women that will you live 10 years longer. And it's because of, so we're pretty much thinking that it's because of iron. Iron is absolutely essential, otherwise you don't live. But a little bit, and then, but just enough, and then too much is going to cause free radical production. So, but yeah, so that bleeding every month that women go through, where they're shedding, it's actually extending their lives and making them stronger. So donating your blood is always good. So anyway, let me go back to these questions. I had to make it smaller so I could see. So please like, follow, share, and this live, and subscribe to our channel so you'll receive notifications every time we go live or post new content. Yeah. But anyway, on the Substack, I just want to remind you that I'm going to do this conversations with the idiot. They're fun because isn't it? So the bottom line is, don't ever ask it a question that you don't already understand that field very well, because you will never get the answer. You're going to get the agreed upon rhetoric by Rocky and the gang, and that's what happens. Unless you know how to question it and bring it down to reality, to make it look at the research and ask it real questions. All right. So what was this thing? The fall of the spirit of darkness, specifically October 1917. Steiner predicted that the materialistic world would seek to wipe out the concepts of the soul and the spirit. Well, is this was that I gotta, I can't save it, but the how do I remember that? I'm gonna remember that by doing this. I mean, the fall of the spirits of darkness. I gotta read that. Let me do this. I gotta remember this. I like that. Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Let's put this down for a minute. There we go. Okay. So, and let's get into some questions. So the first question we have is from Christopher. and the topic is other. And it says, when doing a water only fast, is it okay to have tea and coffee without sugar? Yeah, well, that's a that no, but yeah, depends on your your goals. Now, let me just explain something. With water, when you only have water, there's no nutrients at all, and there's no engaging of the gastrointestinal system, and so there's a whole new the transitions going from external fuel to internal fuel are is a really rough part the like 3 to 4 days that it takes. But once you're in there, now there's a process that goes on of repairing and renewing and then of and starting and then at a certain point around 10 days you start to eliminate plaques, cysts, tumors, so there's a whole process that goes on. Now, if you drink coffee or tea or anything that's got any kind of uh, caloric value, so that means like any kind of uh, of glucose. Um, uh, Now, as it turns out, green tea or coffee actually um, doesn't change things that much in those terms. A little bit, but not enough to really throw you out of ketosis or anything. But it engages the gastrointestinal system. So you could, I mean, if you really wanted to purely achieve something magical, then you would do only water. But you're going to still get a lot of fantastic stuff, a lot of good, healthy changes. But it's not the same. It's just not the same. There's nothing that because remember, it's not only a biological fast, it's a psychological and spiritual fast too. Because you're saying, I can't do it. I need, you know, you're turning it over. You're turning it over. You're saying, and you know that you'll heal. You'll know that you'll heal. Whatever's wrong will heal. That's it. But that's God. It's you're turning it over to God. That's why in every spiritual practice we've ever had on planet Earth, probably other places too, um, it's involved fasting because fasting is not just physical. So yeah, um, but yeah, you can have that, and especially like sometimes it's difficult to get into those first 3 or 4 days, and you want to use it for a while, but eventually you got to stop it and take it because you really want the full benefit of a fast. You'll do that. Okay, so but what I have to say is that uh, uh, less is best. The less you eat, and so that would be a really extreme less by having just coffee and stuff. All right. So the less we eat, the better. Less we eat, the longer we live. Up to a point, not to where you're starving, but this is Angela. Cervical CFCs. Can water fasting help with endometrial carcinoma? Absolutely. With any kind of situation like that, any kind of carcinoma, any kind of sarcoma, uh, that's what it does. Uh, just as a reminder, if you haven't read the book that I wrote called um, Therapeutic Fasting, a Manual for Metabolic Reset and Renewal, I think that's its full title, um, which you can get on Amazon. But anyway, if you haven't read it, uh, but you'll find out that you go through these phases, but by the time you get to around day 10 or so, 11, now the brain finally says, okay, I'm going to do only ketones like the rest of the body. And so the requirement for gluconeogenesis, which is taking our tissues like blood, muscle and fat and turning it into sugar, decreases. The need for that, it decreases. And so now um, it's still going on, but it's greatly decreased. But now the body goes on a scavenging hunt to find anything that's not essential and to recycle it and use it for fuel. So that's where the magic happens right around then. And then the longer you go up, up to a 40. And what I didn't discuss in this book, which I will be discussing in the long definitive work on fasting, which is going to be everything you ever wanted to know and didn't want to know. It's going to be in there. Uh, there's a transcendental process that even is has a physiological correlate that happens right around day 35 or so when you start producing more dimethyl tryptamine, which is DMT. Uh, anyway, fasting is incredible. Um, so with cervical, yes, with endometrial, CA, any kind of place where there is chronically fermenting cells, they will be, and they're established in the form of like a mass tumor. Yeah, they'll be recycled. I've s- this is not theory. Uh, I didn't read this anywhere. There's you're not going to find it read any except that I wrote it. But I understand the physiology of fasting, and then I have fasted I've helped people fast for years, and I've seen it. I've seen advanced stage fours of any kind, any location where it started, whether it was breast, ovary, toenail, doesn't matter where it started, it's still the same process. Um, resolve, yeah. Now, it doesn't mean you have to understand like, the caveat there is that it doesn't mean that okay, if I do this, it'll be gone. What we don't know if it'll take a couple times, but usually it doesn't. Usually it's one prolonged one, but um, and you're gonna get if not if like most of it, even if you don't get it all, it'll be cleansed and you'll be back to being yourself. But it's the refeeding process that is extremely important. You've got to do that very carefully, correctly, and I outline as much as possible how to do that. So if you do that, you're gonna refeed correctly. But during that refeeding process, where all the stem cells just flood the body, and you actually get a new body, you get like a second, a new avatar. It's pretty amazing. But if it doesn't get them all, like there are things that are deep and they've been, and I'm not even thinking of malignancy. I'm thinking of like, deeply embedded fibroids. That might take so you would do a prolonged fast, then you'd eat for a while and eat healthy food. Eat. You always adopt the lifestyle of health and vitality, which is going to bed early. With all the things that we talk about all the time, going to bed early and uh, eating within a certain period of time. Stop eating before you 3, 4, 5, 6 hours before sleep, depending on how old you are. Eating only human food. Moving around all day. Learning to turn uh, the joker off. We all have the joker in there who's going to taunt us. They'll learn to turn it off. But you do all those things, so then you'd eat a while and then do another fast. But within a couple of them, but usually the first one does it, a prolonged one. And you got to work your way into it. You've got to, so the question becomes with fasting, should I do a juice cleanse first? And most of the time, yes, you should. Just because if you're not used to this sort of thing, um, and you want to just do some good cleansing, but it depends. Some people they can the first time is easiest because they can do it. The first time they can do it, and they find that God, I was able to do a 40-day fast when I was 18, and now I'm having a hard time doing it. Yeah, that happens too. So there are no rules specifically for any, and it's just like statistics. Statistics don't they apply to populations? Maybe, probably not, but they certainly don't apply. There's no they're not relevant to individuals, right? So if they tell me that, look, 1% of people of this group get that, and if I get it, that's 100%. So it's not 1%. It's for me, that's 100%. So those statistics are irrelevant. So if someone says, okay, if you do this, you 90% chance of being well, that doesn't work. I don't like to hear that. I don't want to hear a 90% chance of being. I want to hear 100%. So anyway, you got to understand statistics. So forget statistics. But the answer is yes, 100%. I can tell you that 100% that fasting will resolve CFCs of any stage if done correctly and the appropriate amount of times. It does. It does. And I've seen it. I mean, I'm talking about advanced metastatic all over the place gone. So I saw it. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't be saying this. And I'm not going to read it anywhere. Okay, I can't find anyone else that says this, except Shelton and people like that, who, of course, has been discredited. Okay, so this is Karen. Diabetes. Subject. My granddaughter was diagnosed. Do you hear that word diagnosed? Do you understand that word diagnosed? Do you understand that word means they had a spell put on them? They cast a spell. A diagnosis is a spell. With diabetes at 3. She's now 6. I know you say that autoimmune don't attack the body, but what happened here? Can reverse it? Reverse it? If so, how? Okay, Karen, I'm glad you're bringing this up because really, this is an area. This is one of those areas that is, I don't think, can be articulated. What I mean by that is this: autoimmune implies that the body is attacking itself, which it would never do. But what is happening is that the immune system is involved in in an adaptive response, like it is with all the ones, like when we look at Graves, we look at Hashimoto's, what they call Graves, what they call Hashimoto's. When we look at rheumatoid arthritis, when we look at all the ones that they call autoimmune, lupus, and all that stuff, we see these antibodies all over the place. And so our assumption is that the antibodies are causing the situation. And that's not what's happening. What's happening is that the situation is happening, and part of the adaptive process is to use the immune system. And it's okay, and our body, we can't always adapt to everything. We can get overwhelmed. You get a car runs you over, you got overwhelmed. You can't adapt to that. There's things we can't adapt to. But now this here, this specific thing that happens uh, with diabetes type 1, which is what you're describing, because your 3-year-old is diagnosed with it. The word is so, you've got to hear that word. Don't use the word. I mean, you don't want to get a diagnosis because they're going to name, if they name it, it exists. It's real. You don't want that. So there's no it. But anyway, so what happens is your granddaughter's, the islet cells in her pancreas were no longer producing insulin. It's very different than what we call type 2, which is where you're insulin resistant. Your body's producing insulin, but you need a lot more of it to get it to work. So in type 1, now you're not making it. So what they have found is that it seems to be, and of course it's not 100%, but a relationship to milk, to cow's milk, or maybe even goat's milk, or just some non-human milk. We don't see it. We don't. The studies have not shown that it occurs with continuing to drink your mother's breast milk for a prolonged period. And if we understand that all mammals have a period of nursing, and then they have a period of weaning, but we humans we've left the realm of nature, and we live in some Walt Disney thing here, or Rockefeller thing. So, first of all, sometimes we don't even breastfeed because we're too busy or whatever, and so we're giving just formula and stuff like that, or milk, whatever. So but when you get beyond a certain point, and many people develop what they call lactose intolerance, right? They drink milk, they get gassy, they have diarrhea, they're very, very uncomfortable. And that's because they lose the enzyme lactase, which metabolizes lactose, which is the sugar in milk. Milk has sugar. Is called the milk sugar is lactose. So lactose intolerance means you can no longer that you've lost that enzyme, which is would be a normal process, a healthy normal process of living, because you would no longer be drinking milk. Mammals don't need milk after they've achieved a certain growth. That because that the purpose of milk was to get us to this point, and then it's not necessary anymore. And in fact, we know that the casein, which is the main protein in milks, uh, can cause cells to proliferate and stuff. So, so now I don't know with your granddaughter at all if she had, uh, if that it was due to that at all, or that was part of the process. Um, but it's and so here's what I would have to do, Karen. We have to find out. First of all, I've had people that I work with people who have been told they have this as an adult, uh, and we find out that they're still producing insulin, a little, not a lot, but a little, and you have to kind of coax it to start producing more. And I think we're getting there with this one particular woman. Um, um, so, but I don't know your. I'd have to I have to really get some data from you about what's happening. Like for example, on a fasting, on a day that she's fasting and has had no insulin given to her. What is her fasting insulin level? Does she produce any? That would be the thing, because if they're producing any, then you can kind of cause that to be upregulated. Um, and upregulation and downregulation, meaning you increase this, you increase something, an ability or a metabolic process is stimulated to be used more because you're requiring it to be used more. It'll start to be used more. Kind of like you're working out on a muscle and you keep lifting heavier and heavier weights, it's going to get stronger. That's just as you're upregulating growth. And that's how biology works. So I've done this with in many other different kinds of metabolic situations where you can lightly stimulate, not too much because it's not you'll overwhelm it, but you got to play with it, and you can bring it back to health, to a healthy balance. So I don't know specifically with your daughter, and I don't, or with your granddaughter, and I don't know what happened to her, what her early life was. So you'd want to know true fasting insulin. And I don't know how much they're giving her already, but yeah, I wish these places didn't exist, these hospitals and these warlocks and sorcerers. But anyway, Karen, if you join the Health and Healing group, we can talk. I'd like to talk about your granddaughter and see if we can understand what happened, where she is, and how we can help her move away from that. Because she's still a young girl, and it'd be great if we could help her. 3 years into something is, if she's been getting steady insulin, is might make it difficult. But let's explore. Please give me a call or join the group. Next is Constantin. Constantin, and the topic is brain CFCs. Ah, I've been diagnosed with an acoustic neuroma. We were talking about that earlier. 3 centimeters, and a cyst on my left ear, and I am in day 8 of a water fast, aiming for 10-day, hopefully. Can this cyst and benign tumor be resolved only with surgery, or what natural ways I can do instead, please? Like water fast, parasite cleanse, maybe. Anything else? Thank you. Yes. Uh, so, like, okay, this is really, like I was saying before about an acoustic neuroma. The word neuroma, when you have oma, just oma at the end, it usually it means benign. And benign meaning the difference between the main difference between benign and malignant is that it doesn't metastasize. What I keep news breaks I get about how did Taylor Swift become a news break? And Jennifer Aniston, I get news breaks. Jennifer Aniston, what? Changed her shoes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you know? I'm going to go tell everybody I know that. What is, are we really, that we really, I even saw at one point that there was a show. I don't know. I never watched it, but I heard there was a show on celebrities' pets. I mean, come on. I don't know. And how did Kardashians? I have a vague understanding of who they are, and how the hell did they become famous, and why do we care? Oh my God. Anyway, they're now talking about what's her name's wedding. It's madness. So an aroma is that, and as opposed to carcinoma or sarcoma, right? And that's what I was. It's a benign growth, meaning that. So remember, the word benign means it's not going to metastasize. Actually, I mean, it has other detailed meanings, but just in general. However, if you've got a mass inside of your head, you have a skull, which is a fixed place. Uh, if it continues to grow, even though it's not going to spread, it could still be a fatal event. So that the thing about benign, you know, and anywhere. So like neurofibromas, which would be a similar type thing on your on a peripheral nerve, but still, I mean, um, so anyway, yes, that and all non-essential tissues will be resolved with um, with fasting, proper fasting. So the answer is yes. Now you said you're on day 6, right? And you want to go. You're on day 8, and you want to go up to day 10. Excuse me. That's a great start, and then maybe eat for a month healthy, real food, which is non uncooked plants, vegetables, seeds, nuts, fruit. Eat within a 6 hour window, 4 to 6 hour window. Stop eating 5 hours before sleep, and do that for about a month, and then go beyond day 10, because remember it's about around day 10 when you start to go after the non-essential tissue. So maybe you can do a 21 day, and then go eat again, and then maybe do a 30. Work your way up. Now, anything else? Yes, there's lots of things, Constantine. We got to look at your biological dentist. You got to get a biological dentist. We got to do some. We can do a juice cleanse. There's balance your hormones, balance your autonomic nervous system, heal the GI, the gut. Um, so there's many aspects to the healing. And we've put together these different aspects of the program just so people have um, kind of like a map, a methodology. But in simple terms, you're going to get rid of all the toxins in your body. What this is, we don't realize all the toxins there are. We don't realize that our dentists probably put toxins. If we had regular dentists, they put toxins. They uh, exposed us to toxicities. And if we had dental work, we have root canals or anything like that. These are very, very uh, very dangerous, fatally dangerous procedures. The clothing we're wearing. So we have to understand that all these things. But fundamentally, get rid of all the toxins and eat exactly what humans need to eat, and don't take anything else into your body. Just that, and realize that eating is to replenish energy and nutrient deficits. And once those nutrient and energy deficits have been replenished, the eating processes stop. That's how animals would do it. Not us, because we don't eat because of hunger, which is physiological. We eat because of appetite, which is psychological. So we have psychological eating, not physiological eating. And so there's no such thing as full. Your mind will, it's never satisfied, never. So basically, that's what we're talking about. So to answer your question, Constantine, that's what we need to do. And that, you know, and water fasting is a fantastic way of it's like the, uh, the divine cure. Okay, now this is Mini, Mimi, and the question is chronic, or the topic is chronic inflammation. Can chronic gastritis be fully treated and reversed? Absolutely. Um, Itis, when you hear the suffix itis at the end of a word, can be arthritis, gastritis, meningitis, doesn't matter. The itis at the end means inflammation. And inflammation is the way the body heals. You have a trauma, you bang your finger with a hammer, it is going to get red hot, swollen, and painful because that is the process of inflammatory healing. It's only a few days. It's called acute inflammation, and then it resolves and it healed. But if you keep banging your finger, you're going to wind up getting uh, a chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation starts to change a little bit. So now instead of just healing, it's got to protect itself from that hammer. So it starts to develop proliferate tissues and new blood vessels, and because it needs to protect itself from the chronic assault. That's what happens. That's just kind of like the difference. They said, in fact, they shouldn't have the same name. One should be acute inflammation or inflammation, and the other one should have another name to it because it's not the same, and it's not. You can't call it the same, even though it comes from the same root, same process. So chronic gastritis means that there's something that continues. So that gastro means stomach, and itis. So stomach inflammation means something is continuing to assault your stomach, and it's inflamed, right? So you don't need to know exactly what it is, and there's probably no it. It's probably multiple variables. But you do the same thing that we would do in any situation, and that is a thorough detoxification process. And then we eat, and that it would involve juice cleansing and or fasting. And then we eat appropriately. We eat within a 4 to 6 hour window. Stop eating before blood. In other words, when we learn to eat that way, and we're eating nutrient dense food, real human food, then we are uh, no longer uh, abusing our bodies, because we don't realize that we're abusing our bodies because we grew up that way. How can I get comfortable here? This is really not a plate. This is not working. Where are you? Where is this? Can I move that there? Let me put this over here. There we go. Wait. Oh, am I not in the center? Right? Was I not being seen? How weird is that? You guys got to tell me. Now you can see me, right? Wait, am I crazy? I am crazy, but anyway, it's all right now, right? Wow, it's harder than I thought of being just on a laptop. Let me see what we got. All right, half. You were seen. I was seen. Okay, so I'm cool now, right? Yep, yep. And there you guys there. Go there. Almost centered. Good enough, right? So anyway, getting back to the chronic gastritis, remember there's something that we're not aware of that's causing a chronic assault. Now, uh, I was more centered before. Aha. It's all good. Okay, good. What's very interesting is that there's a Dr. Luigi Fontana. You've probably heard him, heard of him, and you've heard me mention before. He's an MD, PhD. He was originally at Washington University in St. Louis. Um, when I ran into him, and he did a study with, you know, where he took people that were eating uncooked uh, plants. I think the one who had the least amount of time was around 3 years, up to 30, 40 years. And the other group of people were people that ate normally. And he just looked at different, he measured different parameters of blood and urine and bone density, et cetera. But the one thing that came that really, really was great for me to see was that they had undetectable, pretty much undetectable CRPs, C-reactive proteins, which is an indication of total body inflammation, meaning that they had no inflammation because cooked food is inflammatory. So really, when we're looking for, and this has been proven since the 30s, when we're looking for, we've done our cleansing, we've done all that stuff, and that it finally comes down to one the most the underlying assault on our bodies, cooked food. And listen, I'm not I eat cooked food. Uh, I've been 100% uncooked for about 4 years. Um, and then, but you can't eat one, and then if you eat one, then you're gone. Remember, that's addiction. Addiction is one is too many, thousand never enough. So you start eating, you taste something cooked, and all of a sudden you're back into it. So hopefully, I'm gonna get that my karma, my destiny will lead me back to uncooked food, because when you have uncooked food, you are vibrant. There's no way to describe what happens when you're eating that way 100%. There's no way to describe it. No. It's and you we can't describe it because just like you couldn't explain color to a person who was born blind at birth. You couldn't explain color to them. Just wouldn't you can't. And the same thing. You can't explain health to someone who's never experienced it. Uh But anyway, so that's the thing with the grass fed. So yes, you can. Now, so they're what the white coat sorcerers are going to get you to believe is that you're producing too much acid, which is absurd. Unless you have a gastric tumor of those of the parietal cells that produce, you're not going to be producing too much acid. I don't even know what else they're going to say now, but you know, or H. pylori. There's a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, um, which is associated with uh, gastric ulcers in the stomach, um, and CFCs in the stomach. So they're gonna, so they're yeah. But the thing is, you cleanse, you do all that, eat healthy, eat human food, and it won't be there. It won't be there. Because chronic inflammation means there's a continual assault at some level that you haven't identified. So that's the thing. And it's not always easy to identify. So what you do is you don't identify and you just clean everything out. So if I never can put a name on the thing that was, or the things that were contributing to it, oh, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. No. Okay, now let me see something here. Oh my God. What happened? I lost. Uh, that was funny. Have you heard that thing in Springfield? They're eating the dogs, the cats. Something Trump said, and this guy made a song out of it. A South African guy from South Africa. Uh, it's a great song. In Springfield, they're eating the dog. It's just really funny and well done, well done. Um, but you know what? I lost. Okay, how did I lose it? Oh, Oh, there it is. There we are. Okay, there we are. Good. I got it. No, I don't need this one. Go away. Good. Okay. Almost centered. Move to your left. My left. Am I better? We're centered now. It's suddenly being low in iron and oh, okay. So we finished our first hour for the pre-submitted questions. So let's go now into the spontaneous questions here. So here's the first one. Julie, is suddenly being low in iron and D3 caused by parasite? I have never had a blood test with either of those being low. Uh not 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 necessarily. I mean, good. Someone just said in Instagram, but that AI, my conversations with the idiot are cracking them up, and I should ask about parasite. I say, well, I'm going to do a parasite one with it. We're going to see what it says, what it knows. It knows nothing unless you direct it. It's an idiot. It's an idiot. These are idiots. It's an idiot. Okay, so to answer this question, is suddenly being low in iron and D3 caused by parasites? Well, no. You couldn't be low in D3 if if you were out in the sun, if you're in the right latitude and you're out in the sun, you're going to make vitamin D. So it would have nothing to do with parasites. They couldn't, no matter what the parasite was consuming, it couldn't, consume the vitamin D, because vitamin D, what we're calling a vitamin, is the cholesterol in our body, in our blood, gets converted into vitamin, what we call vitamin D, by sunlight. And then if we live in a latitude that doesn't give the proper intensity to do that, which means we shouldn't be living there, right? Which means that's not where humans come from. You take a frog out of the pond, it might be able to survive, but you're gonna have to make a lot of artificial stuff. You're gonna have to artificially support it because it needs to be in the pond. And so we left the pond and we're living in Germany or Nebraska. That's not the pond that we where we would thrive. Anyway, now low on iron is something else. Now, so the question is, when you say that you suddenly that are you like measuring? Do you have your blood checked like regularly? And like 2 months ago it was okay, and now you're low. So usually, when the iron in the blood goes low, if it happens quickly, that you've got to think of blood loss, of hemorrhaging of some kind. So a lot of women who have heavy periods are, it's not gonna suddenly happen, but it happens like gradually. It goes lower and lower and lower, and they'll have low iron, but they'll also have anemia because they're not able to, because you need the iron to incorporate into I will answer that. Okay. So what Julie would need to understand is how's your ferritin? Are you anemic? Because or do you have heavy periods? Um, are you postmenopausal? So there's a lot of questions, and this is why good to join these groups, because it's hard to answer this particular question without you know having a dialogue with you to understand more what's happening. Um, but to answer the question specifically, no. Oh, once a year you have it once a year. All right, so then that's not so it's not going to be because of that. So you have a blood test once a year. So what happened over that last year? It would be um, we'd have to investigate it. And there are a lot of tests you can do to figure that out, and and we can get a lot of information just from talking. So anyway, I that's why I really like the ability to ask these to dialogue, join these groups. If you join the health and healing group, right, that's the least expensive. It's only $25 a month, and every other week we talk. We have a meeting and we talk. Or if you're on a Saturday because you're in Europe or something, it's every Saturday. So here, Mona just said, "Do you think I can cure non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with your ivermectin fenbendazole protocol?" Okay, so we got to change your language, Mona. The answer is this thing you have going on that they're calling Hodgkin's lymphoma will go away, can go away, and involving ivermectin fenbendazole, but that's not all. There's a lot of other things involved. But yes, those are very important. Those will help a great deal. But it's not. So you're not going to cure it because there's no it. So that's the thing. See, they put a name on it, Hodgkin's lymphoma, as if it's a thing. If you look at what Hodgkin's lymphoma means, it means that then they did a biopsy. They found a certain kind of cell that they call a Reed-Sternberg cell, because these guys first ones identified it. So if it's got a Reed-Sternberg cell, it's called a Hodgkin's lymphoma. And if it doesn't, that's called a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that can be a lymphoma. It can be T cell. It's such a wide possibility. So these names, they're not even, the names are not real. So you don't have this thing called Hodgkin's lymphoma. What you've got some chronically fermenting cells in your lymph nodes for a variety of reasons. And yes, that can be resolved. Absolutely. And one of the therapeutic, really important, effective therapies are these antiparasitics, because they turn off, they actually go after the exact mechanisms by which that CFC is used to survive. So that's why they're incredible. That's why they're incredible. And they work that well. But it can't just be those. It's got to be, the other things. Have we eliminated any possible, root canals or anything like that? That's a major thing. Have you done a cleanse? Do we have to, balance our hormone? Remember, it's restoring. Our goal is not to get rid of anything. Our goal is to restore balance. And when we restore balance, we're healthy. And we have to realize that. And we got to get away from this thing search. I got to find the thing that got me, and then I need the thing that will fix me. You understand? That's our mindset. That's the Rocky and the gang got us into this mindset. The thing got me, and I need this thing to, so it's not that way at all. It's not that way at all. So my clinic, I have a clinic in Arizona. It's called an Oasis of Healing. We've been there 21 years now. So it's been there a while. And I'm opening a center here. I've opened 4 here, but the people were greedy, and I couldn't be part of it. But I'm finally opening up one here. That I'm not sure how long it'll be. Not long, a few months. We'll have a good one here. So, and it won't be run by greed. I don't like greed. Wait. Where we go? There we go. Okay. Found us. Where am I? In Thailand. What are your thoughts? Okay, so let me answer this other question here. This was on Instagram. It says, your thoughts on NAC and NAD after CFC, also glutathione supplements. All right. This is an important question, and it comes up. So NAC, N-acetylcysteine, is so, and it's related to glutathione. So just for everyone's, put us all at the same level of understanding, and that is glutathione is an enzyme that every cell in our body has to detoxify, right? To eliminate toxins that enter. Our liver has extra because it's got to take care of the whole body and itself. But in any case, so it's got 3 different amino acids that form it. Glycine, glutamine, and cysteine. So we have plenty of glycine and glutamine. but not cysteine. And so cysteine is what they call the rate limiting ingredient. So if you add cysteine, it's already got the other, so you'll increase the production of glutathione. And glutathione is to keep you clean. It's to eliminate toxins. So that's that. Now NAD is something completely different. NAD, and it's usually NAD plus, because if you take the plus out, then it has to be NADH, right? Which is a lot of times, unfortunately, what you're getting is not the NAD plus, because it's a very difficult. It's a very you have to be very careful to be able to package the NAD plus, um, because it'll quickly grab a hydrogen and become NADH. Um, and that's why a lot of the supplements, a lot of the IVs, I'm not sure that we're getting what we think we're getting. So that's yeah. So you got to be careful of the source. But anyway, NAD plus is part of the fundamentals of redox biochemistry, which is the fundamentals of life, of biological life. Um, and so now we know that uh, and the NAD production decreases with age. Um, so it's really important to keep that happening. Now you can get precursors like 5-amino 1-MQ uh, or NMN, things that are precursors to producing it, um, or you can get actually injections and infusions of NAD plus. Uh, but if you've already got CFCs established, then you don't want to do that because that will fuel the growth of it. So that's why when I find out that I became aware that uh, what they call functional medicine, I've come to call fashionable medicine. What they're in all these fashionable medicine clinics, they're offering NAD plus now, and they're not even just figuring out if someone's got CFCs before they give it. So that's not too cool. You gotta know that. Where is this? Where? There we go. Let me get this up here. Come on. Why is there such a big? Can I make this bigger? No. Uh-huh. God. I can't move it that way. I can't move it that way. What happened? Why is this so small? There we go. Okay. All right. Anyway, so that's the thing, NAD and NAC. So, and glutathione, if you take a glutathione supplement, the problem is this: um, it's not going to be absorbed as glutathione because when it gets into your stomach, it's got the acid which starts to and pepsinogen and all that. You're going to break it down because the digestion. So by the time you absorb the glutathione, it will have been reduced to the 3 amino acids that they are, and then you'll be absorbed because we don't that's how our body's designed to absorb single amino acids. So my God, it's much better at home when I have the big screen and all that. So you don't wind up absorbing glutathione because you've already digested it. You're gonna absorb the um, individual amino acids. So that's the thing with that. So all you really need to do then is if you're going to take it orally, is just to take the NAC, and you can get NAC tablets, capsules, and just take a lot of that, and your body will then produce the glutathione in all the cells that pick up the cysteine from the NAC, N-acetylcysteine. So that's that. Okay, I think we answered that question. Hope so. Ah, this is a more of an explanation on what we're talking about. So I was given antibiotics in 2019 with with a with I got when I got COVID before anyone heard about it. I was literally OD'd on antibiotics. I ended up with a systemic fungal infection. Next thing I know, I'm being sent to an oncologist. I didn't get a biopsy or fluid taken out of my spine. I didn't get a biopsy or fluid taken out of my spine. I said no. The oncologist assumed I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I've been working with my functional medicine doctor for the last 7 years. His attitude was he was going to treat it a certain way, no matter the label. I've changed my diet: grain-free, sugar-free, low carb, no alcohol. Excuse me. Okay, first of all, COVID is not a doesn't there is no COVID. I doesn't. I mean, I'll get kicked off of every platform or something. Uh, but okay, that's just that's I don't know what to say. Um, for example, 20 years ago, you got feeling like that, you would say it's I got the flu, and then now everything's become COVID, and so uh, and then the same thing has happened now with parasites. Everybody, anything somebody gets, they think it's a parasite. So we jump onto these. We're looking for the thing, and there's no thing. Okay, okay. But anyway, let's go back. What and they by ODing you on antibiotics, that was you're right. That's a was a major part of what happened with your situation. Um, and of course, you got a systemic fungal infection because antibiotics. Because remember, our biome, the different the distribution of microorganisms within our body and on our outside our body, cavities, um, they're in relative proportions that are supportive of our overall health. Because remember, microorganisms are the soil in which macroorganisms, larger, visible organisms, exist. They're the soil. Without the microorganisms, there is no there are no the macroorganisms don't exist. All right, so but they've got to be in a proportion that's you know like a lot of this species, not a lot of this species. It's got to be certain like that to support our physiology, and that's what happens. So a dysbiosis is when that gets mixed up. So we all have funguses in us because funguses are part of the cycle of life. They're absolutely necessary, but they make up a little less than 10% of our total. So if you've knocked out with antibiotics, you've got eliminated all these uh, you know uh, uh, multiple millions, billions, trillions uh, of bacteria. Then the funguses have. There's more parking places. They're going to take over. That's just what happened. It's not that they're invading you and they're attacking you. There's never that. They're eating. If they found a place to get to, they're subsisting. So that's what they're doing. No one's there's no war on that level. They're not battling. There's no battles. It's just they're eating and surviving. And so they made a place for the fungus. So now when you got the systemic fungal, what did they do? And then you went to the oncologist. Because what's going to happen when you've got all these things happen? If you've got a systemic fungal infection, if you've got that, then remember, all tissues are drained 90% by veins, which take the residue back to the heart for pumping out. 10% goes along the lymphatic vessels to the lymph nodes, where the lymph nodes decide whether or not this requires an immune response, or if the fluid, the substances coming from that tissue are okay. So clearly, your lymph nodes are saying, "Wait, there's, they're working, busy working, um, and they become inflamed. They become activated. So here we have several lymph nodes that are activated um, to something. So the idea is so that you don't say there's a thing called a lymphoma, but you're exactly right. What's happening is you had a fungal infection. They bring you to the oncologist because they've forgotten physiology. They realize that wait a minute, your lymph nodes are busy working on something. So what is it they're working on? Let's take care of that instead of like saying, okay, we're done now. We got the answers, and we're going to kill those lymph nodes. So I think you are like intuitively um, picking up. You understand, Mona, what's going on. Um, and yeah, I'm glad. They'll let them take fluids out of it. Tell them to take. If they wanted to get fluids, tell them if it's a guy, tell him to take the fluid out of his scrotum, and if it's a woman, tell her just take the fluid out of one of her labia. Yeah, just do that. Because I'm just saying, you know, the answer is no. If they want to take fluids out of you and to examine them, it's not. They're not going to come up with an answer that's going to be helpful to you. That's the thing. You know, if their diagnostic procedures resulted in effective therapies, which is what they claim, then absolutely, sure, do it. Figure out what I got, and let's get rid of it. You know, okay, of course, but that's not what happens. There's a lot of money and effort and energy and hopes and everything spent diagnosing. Like you're going to come up with a name. Now that I got the name, of course I know what to do. They don't know what to do because the name is not real anyway. As you've learned, you can see this. And so, and I like your functional doctor said that he was going to treat it a certain way, no matter what the label. Beautiful, whatever the name. Why? Because there's no okay, and you know it is our language. It's not anyone's fault, but our language lies. That's why we can't. You know, it's hard to communicate. You know, we use transitive verbs, which have direct objects, right? You know, you hit the ball, you eat the food, uh, right? So it's got the action verb has a direct object, the thing that the action is acting on. But then there are verbs that are intransitive, like being. I'm being. Being has no object, right? Okay. So, um, yeah. Anyway, and then the it, you know, because we used the word you said his attitude was he was going to treat it a certain way no matter what the label, right? And it's not really but it is it's the process. In other words, he was going to deal with the process. So that sounds good. Sounds like your functional doctor was, you know, had the right idea. Let's restore balance. Let's get rid of all, and that's really what you have to do. So understand this. It's time you've got to get rid of all toxins. It's always the same answer, and I feel like everyone must people must be thinking, what the hell does this guy know anything else but that? You know, like I could just have one answer up there for all questions, and that is we got to get rid of any toxicities. We got to have to, and um, and then in terms of deficiencies, you know, if you looked at someone who was like, you know, you know, moderately or morbidly obese, you think, well, God, they got a lot of excess and toxins, but there's no way they have deficiencies because they get everything. But they do. They're extremely deficient because what they haven't been, they didn't get what they didn't get. Uh, you know, you can eat a lot of food and it won't have something in it that you need, right? So you can be overfed and undernourished, overfed and undernourished. That's pretty much defines our current generation of people on planet Earth. Not all of everybody, of course, but anyway. Um, so yeah, so you were not well. Your body was dealing with something um, in 2019, and again, when it's really difficult to get rid of this disease model, but understand this: when the body is producing mucus and you know you're aching and you're inflamed, your body's basically inflamed. It's healing something. Now, what's it healing? Well, The damage that's occurring in our bodies all the time is because of our lifestyles of eating, you know, cooked food, exposure to nano-sized aluminum in the in the air, being disposed, being as the exhaust from certain planes, or whatever is getting into that our body needs to cleanse, and that's really what it. So when we think of this person has an illness, or he caught a cold or that, it's they, I think it's been referred to in the past as a healing crisis. What it is it's reached the point where your body's got to start eliminating things, and it does that. So you'll have increased mucus and all that. And what is inflammation? Inflammation is fundamentally increasing the blood flow to somewhere, because you want to increase nutrient delivery and immune system delivery, and you want to increase uh, the emptying, the removal of toxins. So you want to increase. So that's why you get, when you think of the four cardinal signs of inflammation: the red, hot, painful, and swollen. Red because there's more blood. Hot because blood is warm. That's, if you've ever felt blood, you know. Um, Swollen, it's enlarged because you got more blood flowing there. And painful, and that's part of it. Pain is one of the uh, aspects of inflammation, right? So the wait, okay, anyway, okay, so um all right, I just want to make sure okay. So what I'm saying is that uh when we say we're getting sick, we have to realize our body's just trying is attempting to cleanse, and we get to points where we've accumulated a lot, and then it has to come out, and then we call that a cold. We say, I caught a cold, or I caught a bug, or whatever. But we're not. It's always the body detoxifying and cleansing and repairing. That's all the body's doing. And if it gets to points where it has to just do that exclusively right now because it's just overwhelmed with toxins, and then we'll think we got sick, and we'll say, that caused it. We have to understand that's not what's happening. So whatever reason in 2019 your body was going through that, and so then they gave you antibiotics, which started this whole cycle. Then it got you more and more out of balance, and the funguses, and then your lymph nodes were trying to deal with it, and then they gave it a name and all that stuff. So you're right. Forget all those names. It's just that there's a systemic overwhelm. The system is overwhelmed. Needs to be cleansed. It's that simple. Nobody wants to hear a simple answer. We want a complicated answer where we can get a complicated therapeutic regimen. I mean, we don't need it. What we need to do is clear out the toxins and restore physiology. Go to sleep early. All the things I keep repeating, but they're the same thing. And listen, I say it not for you only, but for me too. I need to hear it too, because I'm happen to be in the same um, uh, predicament as you, and that's called being human. So now, this is a hi, Dr. Lodi. Melanie from the Parasite Group. I talked to you the other day. Hope all is well. Everything's fantastic. Thank you, Melanie. Oh, Corina, where's your clinic contact number? Well, the one in Arizona is 480-834-5414. 480-834-5414. It's called An Oasis of Healing. And that's where we are. I mean, I've been there for a long time. All right. So now, let me see. How about, oh, you're, okay, wait. What was this question? I'm trying to get, I had a question here on WhatsApp. Wait, where is it? Dr. Lodi, if I join the group, will you be assisted in water fasting proper? Oh. What? Oh my God, where did it go? I don't know. Um, anyway, if you join the groups, yes, as a matter of fact, and I'd like to. I you all, not all of you, but a lot of you know Vanessa. Vanessa's a nutritionist, health coach, everything. Part of our circle, our inner circle. Anyway, so I'm thinking of starting with her a fasting group, separate from all the other groups, just where we only focus on that, and we will lead. We'll have group fastings. Um, like 7 days or 14 days or 5 days or 3 days. And so if we're doing a 7 day one and you want to stop at three, that's fine. So anyway, but I want to do this. So I'm not sure what that question was because I lost it there on Instagram, but because it's things go like that. And I'm trying to get where you were. Let's see. My gosh, where was that? Forehead. How to improve the mitochondria? Here's a question. Okay, I'm at the point where I would like. Whoa, gosh. Oh my God. I'm at the point. What the heck? This is impossible. This is impossible. Yeah. You contact us. Yes, if you join the groups, then I talk to you every week. If you want to contact me individually, you can. I do consultations, but I think it's much. I think you get more out of the group because you hear other people's questions who might be just a little bit down the road from you, and you say, "Oh God, I didn't think of that," or whatever. It's just I think it's much better. Uh these go so quick. I just can't read them. We got to figure out something to do with that, Hammy, but because the Instagram, it's just too quick. And maybe I don't know. I don't know. It's just it moves because it's on my phone, and it's gone, and then I can't find it again. Where did it go? Uh, uh, yeah, yeah. My God, and I spent too much time looking. I'm not gonna do something about Instagram. Sorry about that. Uh, okay. What? Here's a question by Lori. It says, "What can you do for polymyalgia besides prednisone?" Okay, good. So again, so Lori, listen carefully, and everybody else, listen carefully. There's no such thing as polymyalgia. They made it up. There's no such thing as COVID. They made it up. There's no such thing as cancer. They made it up. These are words they're nouns, and there's no noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Am I wrong? The answer is no, I'm not wrong. It's a person, place, or thing. So you have a person, place, or thing, and you call them polymyalgia? No. Is there a cancer? Is there a person, place, or thing? Is there a thing there? No. Okay, so what they've done, it's called nominalization. They take a verb and they turn it into a noun, and now I have an enemy, and my weapons are pharmaceutical. That's what they do. And they get you off the track. You're misdirected. Now, instead of restoring balance, taking care of deficiencies, excesses, and toxins, instead of doing that and restoring balance, you're off at a battle against something that doesn't exist. Polymyalgia. What does that mean? Poly, many, myalgia. Myo is muscle and algia is pain. Polymyalgia, many muscle pain. That's a diagnosis. What the hell does that mean? And there's polymyalgia rheumatica and whatever. Okay, so they're gonna again that's a more definition of what it's check. Okay, let me give you an example that I think everybody will understand. You go to a doctor and you say, I'm always tired. I have no energy. And they do all these blood tests, and like 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, they come out and say, Got the diagnosis. You've got chronic fatigue. That's what I was saying. Well, that's the diagnosis. No, it's not the diagnosis. That's my complaint. That's my problem. That's the diagnosis. You understand? What they call diagnoses are worse than irrelevant. They're misleading. So okay, so so polymyalgia rheumatica, or whatever they want to call it. There's no it. Remember, there's no it. We got to stop looking for it and things. The it thing, there's this it thing complex. If I only had that thing, if I could it thing, I need that thing to get rid of it. This thing, there's none of that. They don't exist. There are processes. The universe is fluid. We know that. We know it's frequencies. There's no things in the universe. There's no thing. Even a mountain, a rock, it looks like it's there for a long time, but it's a thing. It's process. It's fluid. It emits frequencies. Stars, they're emitting free. It's free. It's a frequency. That's what it is. There's no things. It's a thingless universe. Itless. Completely itless. Okay. So now, what's going on? Polymyalgia. So besides prednisone, what does prednisone do? Prednisone and other synthetic steroids and the corticosteroids. Remember, there are different kinds of steroids. There are steroids that produce testosterone, estrogen. Those are steroids. Aldosterone. These are steroids. The vitamin D would be considered almost like I mean, it comes from cholesterol, which, but it doesn't go the steroid pathway. But anyway, so the prednisone, what is it going to do? It's going to suppress. What it's doing is by it's your body is seeing. Well, I've got a lot of your adrenal glands are saying there's tons of cortisol is what it thinks. It was the prednisone looks like it, and so the adrenal glands stop producing cortisol because it's got plenty. Which is what the problem, the long-term problem is, because if you stop it abruptly, your adrenal glands are not able to protect you in stress, and you're overwhelmed. So that's one of the problems. But the other thing is that it suppresses immunity. We know that, and that's why being stressed out all the time, right? You're naturally suppressing your immunity, or your immunity. Take away the transitive verb. You're not doing it. Natural immunity is being suppressed. It's not that you're doing it. You didn't do it, and that's the wrong language. And I've got to be careful with my language as well. So polymyalgia rheumatica, or however they want to call it, you're taking prednisone, you're suppressing your immune response, which is not the answer. The answer is that, again, Lori, you have a systemic toxicity. You've got to cleanse. You've got to get a biological density. You've got to do a good, thorough juice cleanse. And I promise you this: you just start doing what we're saying here, and you're going to find you're getting better and better. And if you join the groups, I can help you get off of the prednisone onto, you can't just abruptly withdraw any of that stuff. That's they really have these pharmaceutical chemical chains that you stop them, you're gonna stop that. So anyway, please join a group so I can help you get through that. But basically you've got to get rid of. So what is manifesting as muscle pain is just deficiencies, excesses, and toxins. Okay, so you got to do the cleansing. We've got to restore balance to your adrenal glands, and that's going to be difficult, because not difficult, but it's going to be it can be done. It's a simple path. I mean, an easily to understand pathway. You just have to be able to do it and know how to do it. We restore balance to your adrenal, because that's part of your hormones. We have to balance all the hormones: your sex hormones, your thyroid hormone, your parathyroid, your pituitary hormones, all of them, and adrenals. We restore that balance. We restore the balance to your autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic, sympathetic. Uh, Heal the gut, restore the immune system, and then we're not. We did it. We did it. That's what we got to do. So you'll, yeah. So there isn't. Yeah. The answer, Lori, is absolutely 1,000% yes. And not only that, it really works. It's not just nonsense. Uh, Now, question here is it better to take glutathione IV? Well, yeah, I mean, you really can't take it orally because, as I said, it's not going to be absorbed. It's going to be broken down into its amino acids, and your body will absorb those amino acids, and they'll go to wherever they're to the amino acid pool, or they'll be used, but they're not going to be reassembled into glutathione, right? Or, that's just not what happens. Um, but you can take NAC, and that's going to stimulate your body all over. Whatever cells pick it up will be able to make the glutathione because that was the missing ingredient. Um, but IV glutathione, yeah, that will give you absolutely uh, some benefit of the glutathione because it didn't need to get digested. I mean, it didn't need to get reassembled because it's introduced, and it can be utilized right away. So it's very good. Excuse me, but the problem with IVs is that they're an IV, and you can't walk around with an IV all the time. So what you really want to do is put your body back into a condition where it can uh, uh, produce what it needs when it needs it. Right? It's got to produce what it needs when it needs it. And so you want to, if your body has it's got no deficiencies, no excesses, and no toxins, and it gets what it needs, it'll just produce what it needs as it needs it, including EPA and DHA and all that, where they think we need fish oil. We don't need fish oil. Uh, Fish need fish oil. Hard to believe. Humans need fish oil. No, no, and no. Humans need bear oil. No. Human need raccoon oil. No. It's crazy that, if you think about what they're saying. So, okay, so here, okay, I feel like I always overlooking. It seems like I'm overlooking, uh, good. Is it, Dr. Lodi, have you tried? More to go. My God. Ah, have I tried bee pollen or something on my allergies? Um, no, it's overeating. It's eating cooked food. That's it. I could construe it as something else, as an allergy or something like that, but that's just it. It's just overeating cooked food. If I were not eating, if I were eating 100% raw food, this wouldn't exist. And it's really the truth. And so I can't fool myself. I can't fool myself. Anyway, here's another question. Peptides, are they safe after CFCs? Terzapeptide, GHKCU, KBV, CMAX, C-Link, MUT-C, and alpha. Well, yes, that's Britty Cotton. Yeah, peptides. Well, listen, our body makes about 300,000 peptides. For and they do they function as hormones. They're messengers. They're active. They do all sorts of stuff. And so there are, for CFCs. Yeah, there's some very important ones. Uh, that are extremely helpful during active CFCs, like thymosin alpha 1, the SS31, the MOTC, also the uh, methionine and kephalin, uh, and epithalum or epithalin. Those are extremely helpful. The problem is they're so expensive. They're so expensive um, that unless you're wealthy, you couldn't afford to do all those. You know, in the I mean, taking them in the proper frequency and dosage is just overwhelmingly expensive. It's ridiculous. Even like right now, BioLongevity Labs is having a sale, 40% sale. Even at a 40% sale, if you were to get enough of any one of them, it's still a lot of money. So, but peptides are phenomenal, yeah, if they're used correctly. Now, you wouldn't want to use the GHK-Cu with CFCs, but you wouldn't need it. There's not necessary. Actually, it's interesting because the Cu, remember, is copper, which could contribute to angiogenesis, which you want to avoid. However, the GHK, the peptide, because you can get the GHK without Cu and with Cu, actually silences a lot of the things that have been turned on about CFC. So it can be very helpful in that regard. I don't think the correct, um, the I don't think we yet have the knowledge on how to apply that with CFCs. So I would just at this point not do it, but I would look at the SS31 and the MOTS-c for sure because that of the mitochondrial restoring mitochondrial function. That's very important. Remember, and I think someone asked earlier too about mitochondria. Yeah, your length of life is 100% mitochondria, and that has to do with the membrane integrity. So the paradoxability index of the mitochondrial membrane is inversely related to longevity. That's the thing that we know in biology. What that means is the more vulnerable your mitochondria are to being oxidized because they're not strong, the shorter your life. If you're a rabbit or an elephant, it doesn't matter. This is throughout all biology. Comparative biology tells us this. Um, but yeah, so peptides. So fantastic. Now, one thing here, I'm just looking here at some of the reading here. They're talking about. There's a question. What about nicotine for long COVID? Okay, first of all, nicotine's got a lot of uh, benefit because why? Because it's part of what our body makes. It makes we have nicotinamide and we have nicotinamide receptors and all that sort of things, and it's how the nervous system works and all. That's probably why cigarettes are probably the most difficult addiction to separate yourself from. But one half of me again. Well, oh, you mean here? No, here. Am I still one half? Anyway, there's my profile in the mirror. How do I get this? Does this help? Anyway. So what about nicotine for long COVID? Because there's no short COVID, long COVID, or intermediate COVID. COVID doesn't exist. COVID. Covert ID 19. What 19 is the 19th chromosome? Anyway, so who knows what that is? Is it EMF? Is it we know what it is? It's EMF. Anyway, gotta be careful. So I want to get on I got to get a Rumble like shows that I can just always say what I want to say because I don't want to get kicked off so I lose the contact with people. Anyway, but nicotine's good. Anyway, so the so the nicotine is the nicotine works. Nicotine, but the patches and all that. Please don't. We're back to the thing. There's there's an it. I got to get the thing to fix the it. The thing's going to fix the it. There's no thing. There's no it. Nicotine is part of a whole program, and you don't necessarily need it. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make those because you have receptors for it, you have the ability to produce it and all that. By the way, neurotransmitters, we're talking about neurotransmitters. Do you know what's absolutely essential to make neurotransmitters, which includes dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, all that we need, acetylcholine, all of that stuff. These neurotransmitters require ascorbate. Do you have enough vitamin C? If you don't, you won't make them. So when you think of all the people around the country and the world that are having what they call depression, and they're giving them drugs that are called SSRIs, which are it's a mechanism that increases the amount of serotonin in the synaptic cleft, right? So between the nerves. Um, you can do that. You can artificially stimulate it, but is that the underlying cause? The underlying cause is if you don't have enough ascorbate, which they did a study of 200,000, 300,000 people in Germany, and 40% of the people, 40% of the population that they studied were so low, it was called scorbutic, meaning they're if you, they're on the way to stage 4 scurvy, which is where your teeth are falling out and your eye, skin, you look, it looks like you're melting from the inside out. Okay, 40% of the population, because so we don't realize how deficient we are. So when we talk about deficiencies, they exist, they're real. So if you don't have enough ascorbate, enough vitamin C, we call vitamin C, dogs don't, for them, they make it. Horses make it, elephants make it, giraffes make it, trees make it, frogs make it, bacteria make it. We don't. We and a few other ones. And there's anyway, primates, guinea pigs. But anyway, if you don't have enough, you're neurotransmitters, so you could be depressed, you could be, and other problems from not having adequate neurotransmitters. But we don't think about that at all. Um, anyway, good, Mona. You went out of the oncologist's office and never went back. Oh, I walked out and never went back. Yay! Yeah, well, for what? These guys are of all they're really like the morbid. These guys are like, and girls are like, you know, Dracula, Frankenstein, everything. Like they're morbid. They're just, and they how dare you tell someone when they're gonna die? How can it dare you tell that someone when they're gonna stop living? How dare you say there's no cure, but what we can do is poison the hell out of you for the next 6 months. There's no cure, but we can poison you. What? What? I mean, the words that come out of their mouths is like you didn't really just say that, did you, doc? I mean, that really came out of your mouth, man. What the hell? Yeah, their guys are sick. So yeah, you never need to go back. And by the way, uh, my goal when I work with people is that you never need another doctor the rest of your life, because you really don't. You don't. No doctor can. For, health is not forced. It's not. You can't. It's mandated, or I'm going to make you healthy. No one heals anybody. It's not. That's an intransitive verb. Healing happens. Healing happens. It's not something you do. I'm going to heal this. You can't. You don't even understand one of the molecules. How do you know? Like, for example, if I said I'm digesting my food, yeah, okay. So, what's the pH of your duodenum right now? What? Yeah. So we're not. We don't. All these things are happening. So please, let's get back to that, right? And so understand something here, that uh, fundamentally, we got to restore balance in all these systems that we're talking about. We're not on any military expedition. We're not going to get rid of something. There's no thing that we need. We need all of it. We need to restore balance. We need to get our feet on the ground. We need to be back there. We need to go to bed with the sun. We need to, have a real authentic interactions. not lie or anything like that. There's a question here. How do I view bioidentical hormones for postmenopausal women? Absolutely, Kristen. Absolutely. Because if, as long as they're biologically identical, plant derived, and you have them prescribed correctly, which is cyclic, not just every day, um, it's good because what you're doing is you're saying, oh, I'm not ready to shrivel up and turn into a little wrinkled up ball and die. I'm not ready for that. I'd rather hang around a little bit. So that's what you're saying. And why? Because we spent the early part of our lives living unnatural lives because we grew up in that, and so we had an accelerated aging because we shouldn't be, we've pushed up by several decades the aging process, so it's fantastic. You just have to have the right, a knowledgeable um, doctor, I guess, to guide it, and then a willing compounding pharmacy. But it can happen. Uh, so keep repeating, yeah, because new people come on. So you're right. I will keep repeating. I always feel like I'm bad about it, but if you do a 14 group fast, all right. Hey, by the way, you guys, please come back next week. And I'll be back on my at home with the. It'll be it'll be less chaotic, but it'll always chaotic, and I apologize for that, and I don't know how not to do that. So anyway, Keats, I'm happy you caught this too. So keep coming back, you guys, and let's just say for now, sawadee ka, aloha, namaste. See you next week.